and the floor is yours.
Awesome. I appreciate it, Mike. Really pumped to be here today to talk to you guys about multidimensional empathy. It's a concept that that has grown really fond of me as I've kind of taken this journey through SaaS over the past 12, 13 years. So agenda for today, I'm going to talk about what is multidimensional empathy. I'm going to talk about my SaaS journey. Me by team, which stands for multi-dimensional empathy, and then next steps for success, and we'll open it up to Q&A. So to start, what is multi-dimensional empathy? Let's just look at the definitions of this by the book. So multi-dimensional it basically means of or involving several dimensions or aspects. Empathy, the ability to understand and share the feelings of another. So you combine this and you get me, which in my opinion equals Sprocket Fuel for the product professional. So to really distill this down into the product world, it's really seeing your product from multiple lenses. It's understanding the feelings and opinions from all different angles. So we always think about empathy as it relates to customers, which I think is a really, really important, probably one of the most, if not the most important concepts of product is really just kind of understanding your customer and having empathy for them. But this kind of the multidimensional empathy really takes it to the next level, which is seeing things from all different lenses, and that includes all stakeholders. So, and when I say stakeholders, a lot of times people think about, your board, investors, et cetera. Stakeholders is everyone that has a stake in your product, and that means especially the team that surrounds you, that supports you as a product team, including marketing, sales, product engineering. It's the entire company, right? It's every stakeholder. So in this presentation, I'm going to talk how you can set yourself up for a successful career in product by focusing on multidimensional empathy out of the gates. And the best way I can teach this to you is by reviewing kind of my journey in SaaS. And the key learnings that I've had along the way. So go ahead and kick it off here. My SaaS journey really started back in the .com boom. I started to, my family was big into investing and got me involved in the public markets at the age of 16. So it was around 2000. So I started doing some public marketing investing. At that point in time, it was a lot of, it was the start of the internet. It was tech. At its really earliest and kind of like biggest kind of burgeoning phase. So I started investing and had a deep intrigue for that in high school, which led me to majoring in finance at Indiana University. So I knew in high school and going into college that I wanted to be an investment banker. That was what what I'd kind of been groomed to be, I guess, from the high school days. There was one problem with this. Investment banking requires really strong GPA, 3.5 or above, just to get your foot in the door for an interview. And the big problem with me was that I suck at taking tests. I'm not that smart when it comes to books. So I was a 2.7 student at IU, kind of skirted by, you could say. And so I really had to hustle to get even a single interview in investment banking. So I hustled and hustled and hustled, and I got my interview to become an investment banker. It lasted 5 minutes. It went terribly. The lady from Stifel Nicholas was very honest with me in her description and her, basically telling me what an investment banker was going to be like. She basically explained it as, 120-hour weeks. If you like spending time with friends and family, you can cross that stuff off your list because you're not going to be doing that. You're basically going to be someone's glorified assistant and crunching numbers nonstop. If you do the calculations, you're sleeping about 4 to 6 hours a night. I need 7 or 8. So investment banking was not for me. So after I did this 5-minute interview that was awesome, I started to go back to the drawing board to think about what is my adult dream job. I like to work hard. I like to play hard. So it really, that interview in all seriousness kind of opened my eyes up to there are more opportunities out there than just investment banking, which is what I was really set on doing for so long. So I went back to my apartment at IU. who I actually shared with my now business partner, Kevin McCauley. And I started to put my name in the hat for anything and everything, which led me to an interview with a company called FactSet. FactSet was kind of the beginning for me. It really melded two things that I absolutely loved, which was finance and technology. This really led me to like my first key learning and product, which I'll go into in the next page, but culture is everything. And it also helped me to kind of understand that I had a really deep intrigue for product. So that leads me to the first key learning as it relates to multidimensional empathy. And this is really the foundation of multidimensional empathy, and that's make your culture felt in your product. And the reason that this has to, and how it ties together with multidimensional empathy, is the fact that you cannot understand your product without understanding the family your culture without understanding the family that comprises your culture. And that's all of the team members, all of the stakeholders at your company. So this is really the foundation. This is also, I think, one of the most difficult things to accomplish in your product. And it's something that even today, after being a pretty mature product, 4 years in with Upper Hand, we still are trying to do. It's a constant thing you have to be focused on. And it's really the foundation for understanding and building on multidimensional empathy. The other key learning that I had with this was that had to do with customer support and success. So I started my career at FactSet as a customer support rep. I was called a investment management consultant, which is actually a glorified term for I was going to be answering phone calls of a lot of times ticked off customers relating to bugs or just not understanding how to use the product. So this led me to my, kind of first key learnings in product key learnings with multidimensional empathy as it relates to customer support. So really the first thing I learned was customer support's really hard. It's kind of, I've always kind of related it to the service industry. Everyone always says you need to wait tables at some point in your life. If you're going into a product in SaaS, I feel like you have to support the product at some point in your life to really, really have empathy for being the front lines defenders of the product. The other thing that I learned was that support is the best breeding ground for product leaders. At FactSet in particular, I thought it was a really, really unique way that they built the company. Pretty much everyone started as a support rep. And the main exception to this would be engineering. As the company started to scale, they had to hire directly, engineers placed into engineering roles. But pretty much all sales reps, all product people started as customer support reps and worked their way up into account managers. And then they would branch off into some sort of, product or sales related role. This was an amazing breeding ground for product leaders. And I think they had an amazing product because of this. You're forced to learn the workarounds. I think everyone in product, for better, for worse, you might cringe a little bit when you hear workarounds, but when you're a support rep, when you're supporting accounts and trying to help your customers use our product and be successful in using our product, you have to understand the workarounds. And when you understand these workarounds, you understand the fixes that need to be made in the product. You understand the gaps in the product. And then you're also led by customers to the darkest corners and crevices of your product. The places that as a product leader, you typically don't want to go because you're scared of what you're going to see. When you're a customer support rep, you are forced to see this. Your customers lead you directly to it. And this is really powerful information for you to make decisions. So that was really the first two key learnings for me in my journey in SaaS as it relates to FactSet. Next was my career with Book a Coach and now Upper Hand. So we started Book a Coach back in 2012, Kevin and I. We started moonlighting in like 2011. But the FactSet, career led me and just getting into software led me to my career in entrepreneurship. This has been an incredible ride, an incredible experience. I mean, learned a ton just in general, but just as from an experiential standpoint, I led teams in customer support and success, and now product and engineering. And then as if any entrepreneurs are listening to this, obviously you have a pretty thorough understanding that you get experience in everything as it relates to building a company, and particularly in SaaS in this case. In this experience, I really learned a ton about multidimensional empathy by the different teams that I either led or had experience doing myself. So I'm going to cover kind of each team aside from customer support and success, and just kind of talk to some of the important pieces here that I learned, the key learnings for each team as it relates to multidimensional empathy.
Hey, Miles, before you get on, we are viewing the presentation PDF. Are you working off of that? So we're still on slide 1.
Yeah. So I've been going on this other slide. Should we kick it back to the beginning?
Can you share exit the share screen and then reshare screen of the presentation?
Yeah, I thought I was on desktop too over here.
There we go.
Maybe. So you lost me at the very beginning?
We were viewing that PDF. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, I think it's fine. I think most of the points should have come across without the slides, but kicking back to the presentation here, me in marketing. So the key learnings here is that, marketing requires a super deep understanding of your customer. And if you truly have empathy for the marketing team, you're going to understand that they really spend a ton of time, ton of energy, really understanding the depths of the customer, the personalities of the customer. And so when you understand personas as a product professional, you are going to be super dangerous. Honestly, if I could think about career progression in terms of, if you were to start your career in somewhere outside of product and go into product, if I saw a resume that said customer support, customer success for a couple of years, and then marketing, maybe even product marketing for a couple of years, and someone was applying for a product owner job within the same company, I would be like salivating at that piece of paper, because that is someone that's going to be super, super dangerous in product. And so the other key learning is just understanding what marketing needs is key as a product professional. So really putting yourself into their shoes is going to help you. It's going to force you to better understand who the customer is and what they need to succeed. And this will really help drive your product plan. So me in sales, the key learnings here is selling an amazing product is really hard. I mean, selling anything is really, really hard. If you have a mediocre product, it gets it gets extraordinarily more difficult. And if you have a crappy product, it's not a fun life to be living. So that's, when you look at the key learning from an empathy standpoint, you have to understand that what salespeople are doing is super tough. The other thing is they're doing typically, especially in a small business, all the way up to enterprise, honestly, they're making 40 plus calls a day. When you look at how many customers they talk to on a daily basis, it's incredible. So huge resource for you. And the two things that I think to point out as it relates to sales and just multidimensional empathy is sales know why people are saying no, and they know why people are saying yes. If you can answer those questions and understand that as a product person, so, product owner, product manager, that is so critical, because you are going to be able to not only fill the gaps on the no side, but you're also going to be able to work with other teams to really highlight and exemplify on the yes side why people are signing up for your product. One of the other key learnings is just you have to listen to demos. It's going to be some of your best time spent. And I understand, because I've been a product owner, I've been a product manager, I'm now head of product. It's really difficult to kind of pull yourself out. Honestly, I spend most of my time talking to customers, and that's more direct kind of getting feedback, but pulling yourself back, allotting the time to sit in on some of these sales demos. And I didn't mention this on the support side, but sitting in on the support desk, listening to the phone calls, seeing the chat support, seeing the emails come through is really going to open your eyes and lift the veil off for you to be really, really dangerous in product. Me in engineering is it's really important to understand where engineers are coming from. And I think the key learnings that I've had And this is a funny, if anyone watches Silicon Valley, it's a feature, not a bug, is something that we commonly hear here at Upper Hand, and I'm sure that any other company can relate to this as well. But what it comes down to, engineers are the smartest and most passionate people at your company, especially as it relates to your product. When I talked about in customer support, them understanding all of the dark, they're led to the dark crevices and dark corners of your product. Engineers, they engineered it, they built it, they know where all those dark places are. And you know, when it comes down to like solving problems, while it's expensive, spending time up front to engage engineering and to have this as like a kind of a group effort to solve problems pays for itself down the road. And as me as a co-founder and me as head of product, this has been a painful lesson to learn, but it's super, super critical. You have to understand and be empathetic in the fact that they are in the product all the time. And they're in the dark nooks and crannies, and they're going to, and they're the smartest people in the room. I mean, when it comes down to it, they really are. That's why you build an amazing engineering team, is to help you understand the problems in the product and how to solve those problems. And, you know, get their feedback, hear their concerns. Engineers can be over analytical at times, just by nature. But when it comes down to it, you got to hear them out. You got to really, really partner with engineering, and understand where they're coming from. So next steps for success. Again, going back to the first kind of key learning that I had, you've got to understand and exemplify your culture in your product. That is first and foremost. If you can't do that, if you don't understand your culture, if you don't feel your culture of your company, you're never going to understand multidimensional empathy. You're never going to be able to really harness this rocket fuel to further progress your career and make yourself really dangerous in product. And then get as much exposure to other teams as possible. So again, going back to hopping on sales demos, sitting on the support desk, listening to support calls, seeing chat supports, etc. You have to get as much exposure to other teams as possible. Understand your customer like it's a family member. You have to understand personas. So going back to the conversation around marketing, marketing is going to be your best friend in trying to understand who your customer is, the different segments that you're operating in, and the personas within those segments. You have to embrace that. And then for people who haven't started their career yet, or maybe are starting your career already somewhere else other than product, you know, I would point out two things. Like, don't be afraid to step out of product and go into something else within your company if you feel like it's going to help you. I think about it as like a training ground, right? It's like, if you think it's going to ultimately help you become a better product professional and your company's flexible and allows you to do something like that, don't be afraid to do that. But if you haven't started your career, start your career in something else other than product. Go into customer support. I mean, that's my best recommendation. Go into customer support first. Go into some sort of marketing or product marketing role after that, and then hit product, and you're going to be super dangerous. Obviously, this takes a really well thought out kind of longer term approach, and you have to be kind of dedicated to the company that you're working at now. But if you can do something like that, man, it's going to make you super, super dangerous and really provide you the rocket fuel to succeed as a product professional in today's product world. So that concludes my presentation. Obviously, we got a couple people on here. I know Courtney. I don't know if she has any questions, but Jordan, I don't know if you have any questions or anything like that you'd want to bounce off me. But thank you. Appreciate your guys' time.
Awesome. Great presentation, Miles. I mean, especially when you're approaching the lean startup methodology, you have to be able to utilize the empathy tool to really understand your potential customer when doing customer discovery. You have to be able to listen to their problem, listen to the pains that it creates, and understand those pains to make sure that you are truly solving the root causes of those problems. So empathy is a very important tool in the lean startup. And I definitely like that you mentioned the empathy when it comes to becoming a good manager, really also understanding your employees and making sure that they are a good match for the culture that you are trying to exude to the public about what your company represents. So that's great. Jordan just posted no questions on my end. My question is around you in sales. Why do people say no and why do people say yes, in your opinion?
Well, I think there's several reasons. What's that?
I said, or what are you seeing when you do your demos?
Yeah, I think there's several reasons. I mean, I think when you're, as it relates to product, you're really looking for like the features that are missing on the no side to fill the gaps. Because when it comes down to it, the sales demos are truly going to be missing functionality that's critical to solving your customer's core needs. When it comes to working with customer success and customer support, those are going to be like in the weeds type user experience type things, or like stuff that they just didn't catch on the sales demo. So it's going to be much more in-depth feedback from the CS and the customer support side. But on the sales side, typically you're hearing no as it relates to features, and it's more holistic features that need to be developed. Why they're saying yes, that's a pretty that can be a lot of different things. I think that people say yes because of the feeling, the warm and fuzzies they get from the first time that they engage with your brand. It's not just the product demo that they see. So that one is much more, I guess, like robust and complex than you would think. But as a product person, when I'm talking to salespeople and when I'm listening to demos, I'm really looking for cues of what they're getting excited about. Like what are the things that, the features where they're wowed, like they get that kind of like wow type, man, that's cool. Like buzzword, just buzzwords that really show you that someone's excited about engaging with your product. Those are the types of things that I'm looking for, because as I'm working with all the different parties within the organization, there's different pieces of communication you take back from those yeses. So when I'm talking to engineering, and we just launched this feature that, maybe us as an engineering product team weren't super excited about, but you hear those reactions, taking those reactions and bringing them back to your engineering team and saying, hey, I just sat on 3 sales demos and everyone was like super pumped about X, Y, and Z feature. That makes them feel good because they just invested all their, a lot of their time, energy, and passion into building something like that. And to hear the results and hear someone get excited about something that you just built is a very, very rewarding moment for you as an engineer and as a product team, because, product team are really designing it and kind of helping bring it to life before engineering executes on it. But that's really what I typically look for. When they're saying yes too, I also like to take that information to marketing, because I think it's important for marketing to understand what people in specific segments are getting excited about, because then it helps them better cater the message to that segment and to that persona.
Can you go back to, so we missed the first few slides. Can you go back to your slide on culture?
Yeah, absolutely. Kept this one very, very crisp and concise. Can you see it?
Yeah. So, wasn't sure if you had any bullet points on it or not, but how do you ensure, so you spoke especially about making sure that your company kind of exudes that culture that you want your employees to have in the relationship with your company. How do you ensure that with your employees? Is it a fun culture? Is it a get results culture? Is it what is it for you, and how do you ensure that your employees are also representing that?
Yeah, I mean, we have the upper hand way. So this sits on everyone's desk. It's handed to everyone on day one. This has all of the core values and the basics that we expect everyone to exemplify. We hire on it. We don't have to fire a lot of people because we do a good job of hiring on it, but we do fire on it as well. So like whenever there are coaching moments and quarterly conversations, et cetera, quarterly reviews, we're always giving feedback on if someone's off track on a specific core value, how they can get back on track, show them examples of where they fell off, and then show them examples of maybe where they were really good in those particular core values. But there's within those 9 core values, there's 27 basic behaviors that we fully expect people to exemplify on a regular basis. And that's our culture. That's the foundation of our culture. And so when I say make your culture felt in your product, You can see countless examples of it. I mean, we use a company called Product Board. They're a product for product people. And so it's kind of a unique, it's a unique case study. And I use it a lot whenever I'm looking to learn from a particular company or about their product, about their culture, and just how they manage product teams in general. I go to Product Board a lot as kind of like my litmus test to understand how they're doing things, and because they're the product of product people. And so you can see it. You can see their culture really come through in their product. And so one just simple example of that on their loading page, it has funny product like sayings. You know, I can't think of one off the top of my head, but every time a page is loading, it basically talks about how obsessed they are about the product world. And that's a clear-cut example of like really exemplifying your culture and bringing it to life through your product. So again, it's something, it's difficult to do, but I think that it's also fun to do too. If you hire the right people and people really are engaged with your culture, it's something really fun and very powerful, I think, to bring to your customers.
Awesome. Can you, great answer. Can you slide through a little bit slowly through the slides we missed so that we can have it for the recording?
Yeah, definitely. Just go back to the beginning here. So multidimensional empathy, talk about the definitions here. SaaS journey. iBanking did not work out for me. I think
E-learnings, yeah, that one.
Yeah, this one here.
Yeah.
I think this is where
we started. Yeah.
Started. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
No worries. We saw the PDF, and I should have caught that earlier. But either way, great presentation. I don't think we've got too many questions, obviously, but I've got mine out. And what are some early stage entrepreneur tips and tricks that you might have that went over in the presentation for an early product, whether it be for utilizing certain tools, having certain team members to really get going quickly?
Yeah, definitely. I think the best piece of advice I could give, I actually got, when I first stepped into product, I thought of the most brilliant product people that I knew that were like really passionate about it. And I reached out, put feelers out, and I was like, hey, tell me the #1 book in product that I could read to get me up to speed and kind of understand how I should be thinking about product, how I should be thinking about leading a product team. And I reached out to Mike Reynolds from Innovate Map here in Indianapolis, and he responded within seconds and said, easy, inspired by Marty Kagan. And that book I purchased for every engineering and product hire that we have come on the team. It's a really, really good, quick and dirty on what successful product teams should look like, especially in the early days. And so he talks about everything from what you should do, what you shouldn't do, team composition. So I would highly encourage people to pick up that book. It's a really easy read if you're, excited about product. It's and if you're looking to start a company, I think it's a must read before you do that. But super helpful. I can tell you some of the mistakes we made early too, as we started to build. We went from, me, Kevin, Tim, who was employee #1, who was doing sales for us, and an engineering intern, Maining, Lou. We went from the 4 of us to, a team of over 10 people. And of those, additional 10 or so hires, we hired 3 additional engineers, 1 CTO, and then 2 engineers. And I think the biggest mistake that we made at that point in time, because that was back in like 2016, we didn't hire any product roles. And that was a big flop for us. We should have hired a product owner. And we didn't do that. And so we had our CTO basically trying to serve as product owner and CTO, which is a huge no-no. So yeah, I mean, that was something I think that if I would encourage, or if I would give some advice on starting out early, especially if you're going to start building that first kind of like core engineering and product team, have, either one full stack or, a front end, back end pair, a product owner. And that's really all, or a product designer. That's really all you need out of the gates to start that core team. And that, I mean, that's as long as those people fit your core values and really exemplify your culture, you get the right people on the boat and the right seats, and I think you'll set yourself up for success there. The other thing I would point out too, that I wish we kind of would have known about before when we first started, was just having like a North Star metric to help guide some of the decisions. I think that when I approach product, I think about it from a qualitative and a quantitative approach, right? The qualitative stuff comes from all the feedback that you're getting from customers and stakeholders. And then the quantitative is not the be all end all. It's a number that helps you in those really, really tough decisions, because you're going to have a lot of tough decisions, especially as the product gets more mature, to be honest with you. I mean, in the early days, it's like you kind of know your big problems that you're trying to solve. And it's basically a matter of how do you solve those problems. But as the product starts to get more mature, you get more customers, you get more people screaming at you more loudly. It becomes a lot more high pressure to deliver extraordinary results. And so having some sort of North Star metric will definitely help you in that.
Great answer. I'm glad you brought up the qualitative versus quantitative. Obviously, when you are kind of keeping track of these empathy metrics, it's going to be more of a qualitative standpoint for you. How are you tracking it? What tools are you utilizing, for example, when tracking qualitative for the customer or for your team or for marketing? Where are you? What kind of tools are you utilizing in your company?
Yeah, great question. So we use Product Board, as I mentioned before, and that's really where we capture any new ideas and all feedback, whether it's from employees or customers, stakeholders or customers. And I think the best piece of advice I can give is just make sure that you have a net cast very wide and have very easy ways for people to pump ideas into those nets or into that net. So the top of your funnel, and from an ideas standpoint, is very, very open, and you do that in a lot of different ways. It really comes down to kind of product culture too. But we allow people to submit ideas in Slack. We have a channel where any employee from the company can go and submit their own ideas, or they can submit ideas from customers. And then we have a Slack integration with Product Board where our product owner, Meg, is able to go in and send that feedback over to Product Board, tag who the customer is. From there, you can do some pretty in-depth analysis around customer segments and whatnot to see if there are trends in particular segments. But that's really that, we cast the net pretty wide, get a lot of feedback coming in, pump it into Product Board. We also have, the standard forum where customers can go on and provide their own feedback. But anytime we talk to a customer too, because we're pretty high touch here in terms of like actually talking to customers, we'll take that information and pump it directly into Product Board and tag who the customer is. So as soon as you launch that feature, you have a whole list of customers who've asked for it. And you can, pick your beta testers if you want to from that list, or you can just notify them that the feature's coming. So that's how we do it right now.
Awesome. Any other questions?
Nothing on my end, but great job, Miles. It was awesome to hear this from you.
Thanks, Courtney.
Well, great. I'm going to go ahead and hit stop on the